close your eyes and imagine the thing that frustrates you most that you do, 15 times a day, or you do 15 times a week. And think about that thing, channel the frustration, and then realize that the more you use Liminal or any behavioral agentic automation platform in order to actually execute that particular task, within a very short period of time, it's going to say, hey, I've noticed you try and do this thing a number of times. Would you like me to do that for you? And then open your eyes and take a breath of fresh air, because that's what's being built. That's not the promise. That's not a hope. That's not a dream. That's what is going to be the reality for anybody in a role inside of a company that has any form or shape of repetitive task. You don't get agentic AI without generative AI. Generative AI has revealed that there's a ton of inefficiency in our workplace that could be automated away. What we've seen generative AI do really well at is simple prompt-based repetitive tasks, things that require a lot of language. I think we have an opportunity to see incremental turn to exponential with agentic. But you can't have one versus the other. You have to have generative AI in order to achieve agentic AI. So today there are a number of different ways that agentic is addressed. There are off-the-rack solutions that you can buy, and there are also agentic frameworks. An off-the-rack solution is great if you want to solve a general problem that exists across a population of people, or a general problem that exists across a singular person. Those solutions often fall short of being able to customize for the individual. You can't build something that fits everyone's needs. You have to at some point cut it off and say, look, this is the solution. It's going to solve 60 to 70% of the problem for 60 to 70% of the populace here, and the other 30 to 40% are going to have to just fall in line. That's great, but you're leaving a pretty significant portion of the individual's own work needs off the table when you pull something off the shelf and deploy it directly. Now, if you want to increase the scope, you go to the agentic platforms. That's the other available solution today. The problem with today's agentic platforms and frameworks is that they ask you, what do you want to build? And that creates a cascade of following problems for the organization. We call that the billion Lego problem, which is, here's a billion Legos, now go build me a plane that flies. I have to know material science, I have to know aeronautical engineering, I have to know all sorts of things about how planes fly to be able to do that. So agentic platforms, we're relying today on the ability of an individual or team of individuals to predict what the best and most inefficient workflow exists to solve for, versus relying on proof through observed behavior, even when you figured out the best problem to solve for. Now I have to be able to translate that problem into technical requirements that fit this agentic framework that says, here's your Lego bricks, now go build. I now have to possess the skill to go and build that thing, to know how these nuanced pieces fit together. And when there's 57 agentic platforms out there that can all do different things, it's a hell of a burden for any IT individual or team to have to try and figure out. We don't know the problems we need solved, and we don't know the technology well enough to be able to solve them in absentia. There's an adjacent way to solve for a lot of the inefficiencies that exist in a business. And that adjacent way really is through behavioral agentic automation platforms. If you're using Liminal, we understand the patterns of inefficiency that exist in your business because you just are using our platform the way you were supposed to use a platform. You're using generative AI to search for pieces of data, to analyze pieces of data in your company. You're doing it with some degree of frequency. When we see that pattern emerge, why wouldn't we automate that for you? I can see that Steve, every time before a sales call, goes in and requests research data on the customer. He looks for data from his CRM. He looks for data from his historical call logs with this. He looks across videos that he's done with his customer. Well, if I'm always engaging generative AI, shouldn't my AI be smart enough to understand A, that it's connected to my calendar, B, that it's connected to my CRM, C, that it's connected to any other downstream data sources, and D, the pattern of behavior that would suggest I'm asking for things with a reasonable degree of frequency around those systems to tell me what I'm supposed to do with a particular customer every day, 15 minutes before a call with a customer. Liminal would recognize the pattern of behavior that exists, and it would auto-assemble an agent that says, hey, Steve, we've noticed that you are looking for sales research 15 minutes before every sales call. Would you like us to deliver this to you every call, before the call, a series of, whatever documentation or elements that would help you get ready? Well, totally. Yeah, of course I would like that. So what did we just see there? We saw a platform that can observe behavior, how you're interacting with AI and how you're interacting with your connected data, and it can assume and infer based on your interactions and patterns of interactions with AI and your data, how you work, and then assemble agents that are able to solve for the inefficient components in your workflow. That's the dream state. You don't need to be maniacally gifted at AI to know how the technical components are resolving themselves. You don't need to be an IT person who is sitting in a centralized location over the top of others, building for somebody's workflow that's sitting on their behalf. And by the way, the proof exists already in the value because we've watched you look for this thing 815 times over the last week. We know that we can automate that away because the pattern of behavior exists. So what we're talking about is self-assembling, self-improving agents based on behavioral patterns and observability data and how you interact with your own organizational data. That's the promise of behavioral agentic automation platforms, that they can do that, on an individual basis as well as the organizational basis. And they do that without you having to lift a finger. You're not snapping the components together. You're not solving for technology translation. You're not integrating complex systems. It's doing the work for you, and it's doing it knowing that there's proof of value on the other side because it's observed you doing that thing 857 times over the last 2 weeks. This isn't like looking at, some pie in the sky, reality. This is something that we are building towards today. We have all of the inherent tools. Now it's about putting them together, and that's what Liminal is able to do. We're quite excited about.